They said I was the most virtuous wife in the capital. They didn't know I was a wife in name only. My husband's favorite concubine thought she could destroy me by revealing our unconsummated marriage. She wanted me mocked. She wanted me cast out. But she never imagined that very rumor would force my mother-in-law to step in and drive the Marquis in the dead of night to knock on my cold door. Chapter 1. I was the Duke's second daughter. My father, Duke Edward, and Marquis Leonard were life-and-death comrades on the battlefield. After they returned in triumph, the two of them took it upon themselves to arrange a marriage between me and the young Marquis. When I found out, I lay worried on Mother's lap and asked uneasily, "What if he doesn't like me in the future?" Mother laughed. "Silly child, in marriages between great houses, a husband's affection matters least. What matters is the power you hold as mistress of the house." Under such teaching, I grew up day by day. 1 month before my grand wedding to Christopher Chu, a nanny from our manor went out to purchase items and quarreled with someone. Ordinarily, it was just servant's business and didn't need to be reported to me. But the troublemaker had some connection to me. She was Lily, Christopher Chu's cherished concubine, kept in his quarters. Because of that connection, I had to step in. Calling her a concubine wasn't exactly accurate. As the lawful wife had not yet entered through the door, the Marquis's manor didn't dare formally take a concubine. But she was already Christopher Chu's intimate confidant. My future mother-in-law had even come to my house over this matter. She repeatedly promised she would send Lily away before the wedding. Mother stopped her. "Since she's someone Christopher likes, then keep her in the manor and look after her properly. When Isabella is married over, she can be raised up to the rank of madam." That was Mother's will, and it was mine as well. If Christopher truly cared for this girl and she were driven away now, he would only resent it. And he and I were bound to be husband and wife. I didn't ask for mutual affection, but at the very least, we should treat each other with respect. He ought to be courteous to me. If we tore our faces over a concubine and shamed both families, that would only make it harder for me to manage the Marquis's manor in the future. Before she left, my future mother-in-law again promised Mother that before Christopher and I were married, they would properly restrain Lily and never let her ruin this marriage that both families valued so highly. When I arrived at Bright Moon Pavilion, Lily was sitting comfortably in a high-backed chair, drinking tea. My nanny's face was swollen, while Lily's maid fared even worse. Her hair had come loose, and the corner of her mouth was torn and bleeding. On the way here, they had already told me everything. It began when Nanny came to Bright Moon Pavilion to purchase powders and hair ornaments for my dowry. Lily deliberately tried to snatch them. Nanny naturally refused. In the shouting match that followed, Lily's maid spoke filthily. She said that even if I was the Duke's second daughter, I was still just a useless frame that couldn't keep a husband's heart. That once I married into the Marquis's manor, I would be left alone to guard an empty room every day. Nanny had nursed me herself and treated me as her own daughter, precious as her own eyes. I had drunk her milk. She had watched me grow into what I was now. How could she endure others slandering and inventing stories about me like that? She rushed up and started fighting with Lily's maid. "Miss!" Nanny's eyes were red as she scolded the maid at my side. "How could you let the young lady come to deal with such filthy matters herself? Do you not know what status she holds? Hurry and send her back." Lily let out a cold laugh. "What status? Just because she's the Duke's second daughter, she can throw her weight around?" Nanny flared up at once, but I stopped her. "Then tell me, how have I thrown my weight around? Are you trying to deny it? Your nanny hit my maid." "Then tell us, why was your maid beaten?" My question stopped Lily short. Her face went through several colors. "Whatever the reason, striking someone is wrong," I smiled. "You're right. Then I will offer you an apology on my nanny's behalf. These rouges and hair ornaments will be my compensation to you." Nanny turned pale. "Miss, those are your wedding pieces, worth thousands of taels." A flicker of disbelief flashed in Lily's eyes. Afraid I'd change my mind, she still said loftily, "Your word is as good as gold. Don't you dare regret it." My smile stayed mild. "I won't." She left in high spirits, arms full. After she was gone, Nanny burst into tears. "It's all this old slave's fault. "I've wronged you, miss. If this affects your marriage, I'll never be able to atone." I smiled. "It won't, Nanny. This marriage isn't only ours. The ones who should be worried aren't us." Just as Nanny and I returned to the manor, Christopher Chu and his mother arrived. Laid out neatly on the table were the very gilded ornaments Lily had taken from me. Mother and I exchanged a glance. She calmly sipped her tea, while Christopher's mother was sweating at the brow. "This is the deed to Bright Moon Pavilion," she said. "Think of it as a little extra dowry from me for Isabella. Lily is Christopher's cousin. Her parents died early and left her alone. We took her in as a favor to others." Christopher followed smoothly. "Aunt, second young lady, I've already warned my cousin. She was in the wrong today. This deed is a token of apology for my mother and me. Please, second young lady, accept it. After the wedding, I'll arrange for my cousin to live in a separate courtyard. There are rules in the house about wives and concubines. I respect second young lady and won't let my cousin overstep her place." Mother accepted the deed. Christopher and his mother both breathed a quiet sigh of relief. No doubt the gossip outside had made this visit quite shameful. Our two families are both well known in the capital. Isabella may not be the eldest daughter, but she is the Duke's second daughter. How could she wear things to her wedding that have already been used by someone else? Christopher immediately said, "I'll have a new set of ornaments made for second young lady at once. They'll be finer and more luxurious than these." Mother smiled and helped him up, keeping them for dinner until dusk before seeing them off. After they left, Mother placed the Bright Moon Pavilion deed in my hand. "You handled today well." I was kneading her shoulders. Mother taught me well. Starting 3 months ago, Lily had been trying every means to force me to step out and retreat, to make me lose heart and break off the engagement with Christopher. I had stayed put, waiting until today to strike by retreating. That was because my father and Christopher's father would soon be returning to the capital. This marriage had been personally arranged by Christopher's father. If anything went wrong, the old Marquis's sword would never spare Lily. When that day came, without Lily's death, there would be no way to end it cleanly. So Christopher had to come in person today to apologize. Bright Moon Pavilion is the most fashionable shop in the capital, making over 10,000 taels a year. For them to hand it over means they're truly bleeding for this. I can roughly tell now how much Lily weighs in his heart. No matter how much she weighs, she can't outweigh your seat as the lawful wife. In the future, you'll run the entire Marquis's manor. Your eyes shouldn't stay fixed on your husband. If he dies before you, you'll be the old madam of the manor. Everyone will have to pay you respect. The whole household will belong to you and your children." I understood the meaning behind Mother's words. Children were what mattered most now. On the 3rd day after my wedding to Christopher Chu, I began learning the household accounts from my mother-in-law. Christopher came to my quarters for lunch every day. On our wedding night, we had not consummated the marriage. Lily had accidentally knocked over a candlestick, setting the courtyard on fire. A maid came sobbing to fetch Christopher. He rushed out without even undoing his wedding robes. He did not return all night. When mother-in-law learned of this the next day, she flew into a rage and locked Lily in the ancestral hall. Lily refused food and water there. Christopher begged his mother to relent and failed, then came to me. "You're my wife, the one who shares my pillow. Lily's still childish. I know she's made you suffer greatly because of her. When I was young, she once saved my life. Isabella, I can't ignore her." I stirred the soup in my bowl, smiling gently. "You and I are husband and wife, meant to walk together all our lives. Your matters are my matters. I'll go beg mother-in-law for her. For my sake, she'll let Lily out." After Lily was released, Christopher gave her a scolding, and she grudgingly came to thank me in my room. I played with the abacus and read through the account books, not even raising my head. "No need to thank me. Just stay within your courtyard and behave." She flung down her handkerchief and stormed off. The next day, when Christopher returned from court, I was checking the number of servants with mother-in-law. Winter was coming. It was time to prepare 2 new sets of warm clothes for everyone. "Lily used to be an official's daughter," Christopher said. "There's too much to do in the manor. Isabella can't handle it alone. Why not let Lily help her with some of the household matters?" The moment he finished, mother-in-law threw down her chopsticks. "Have you gone mad?" Christopher frowned. "Mother, Lily is your own niece." Mother-in-law had only been slightly angry at first. At those words, her fury doubled. "A concubine who hasn't even entered the house, and she dares to help the lady of the house? I spared her life only for your sake. Don't push me further." Christopher rose angrily to leave. I stopped him. "Since my husband wants Lily to help me, it happens we're now preparing winter clothes for the servants. Mother and I have agreed to go to the temple tomorrow, to pray for my elder brother at the border, and to fast for half a month. We can hand this matter over to Lily." Christopher sat back down. "That's the kind of magnanimity a lawful wife should have." "Yes. As the lawful wife, I should understand my husband. And you, as the legitimate son, with father always away from home and mother alone managing the manor and raising you, you should understand her too." Tears ran down mother-in-law's face. She choked out, "Isabella, you don't need to wrong yourself for my sake. I'll just pretend I never had this son." She left. Christopher was in a foul mood. A servant came from Lily's courtyard to invite him over, and for the first time, he snapped. "What are you rushing for? Get out!" When we were alone, he dropped his head, slightly ashamed. "I owe Lily a life. She nearly died saving me once." The same words again. I answered lazily, "I know, my lord." The next morning, when I set out from the manor, Lily had shed her previous dejection and was once more full of swagger. "In this half-month, I'll have full control of the house. When my lady returns, all you'll need to do is enjoy life. You'll never have to bother with these things again. Then, I wish you what you wish for." Ah, the accounts of a great household are not so easily managed. If she blundered the first time she took full charge, then in future, Christopher wouldn't dare speak for her again, and mother-in-law would only despise her more for her incompetence. She would never again have a chance to interfere with household matters. If you want someone to destroy herself, you must first feed her arrogance. This was something Mother had often taught me with her own hands. Lily was just like Aunt Autumn back in my family manor, whom Mother had crushed into despair until she never dared show off again. At home, I had only watched Mother in action. Now, after leaving her, this was my first time putting what I'd learned into practice in the Marquis's manor. As soon as Lily took power, Mother-in-law fell ill and shut herself away in her courtyard. The year's end was near. Consort Lydia in the palace had just given birth to an imperial heir, and His Majesty was promoting her to noble consort. As Vice Minister of Rights, Christopher had been in charge of overseeing and inspecting the investiture ceremony. This was the first prince born since His Majesty's accession. The Emperor was overjoyed and took the ceremony very seriously. Christopher tried to read his sovereign's mind and dared not relax, for fear of offending the imperial will. He rarely came home these days, often sleeping on a pallet in the Ministry of Rights. Thus the Marquis's manor fell entirely into Lily's hands. Lily seized the chance to purge those who opposed her, and tossed aside the matter of winter clothing. Nanny Zoe, who oversaw the kitchens, was kind-hearted yet capable and very good at winning people over. The kitchens had always been the best place for servants to skim off the top. In short, a fat post. When I first took over the account books of the Marquis's manor and compared them with those of Duke's manor, I saw that the kitchen accounts were not bad at all. They were even better than ours. That meant there was a good manager here, someone who could balance the interests of masters and underlings. She ensured that the family didn't lose too much money, while giving the servants a little grease to taste. Not enough to cause trouble or jeopardize her own position, nor enough for the servants' petty tricks to affect the master's meals. The first thing Lily did after taking power was strip Nanny Zoe of control over the kitchen and install her own maid, Ivy, in her place. I had people look closely into this, and finally uncovered the grudge between Lily and Nanny Zoe. Before I married into the Marquis's manor, Lily had once been pregnant. Mother-in-law repeatedly tried to force Lily to abort, saying a concubine must not be pregnant before the lawful wife entered the house. Each time, Christopher stepped in to stop her. Afraid mother-in-law would resort to other means, he even bought guards from outside to protect Lily. While Lily was pregnant, Christopher spoiled her excessively. She became arrogant and lawless. bird's nest was costly, especially that year when output had been low and supplies drastically cut. The amount used daily in the Marquis's manor was strictly measured. Lily thought a single bowl was too little, that it slighted the child in her womb. Ivy whispered to her that when she'd gone to fetch the bird's nest, she'd seen 2 other bowls, one for the Marchioness, the other for Rose. Rose was the personal maid mother-in-law had assigned to Christopher's bed. She was extremely beautiful, but too timid and meek to compete with Lily. After Lily and Christopher became intimate, Rose never once saw Christopher again. Naturally, Lily despised Rose. She also envied Rose's youth. Rose was a few years younger than she, and when she remembered how Christopher had once favored Rose, the thought stuck in her throat like a bone. Using her pregnancy as a shield and the bird's nest as a pretext, she made a scene. But Nanny Zoe refused to yield. No matter what, she wouldn't give Rose's bird's nest to Lily. Instead, she scolded Lily harshly on the spot, saying she lacked all bearing of a lady from an official's family and could lose control over a mere bite of food. Spoiled and indulged since her pregnancy, Lily had never been reprimanded like that. It reminded her of her days as a dependent under another's roof when she'd first come to the Marquis' manor. In the quarrel, she began to scuffle with Nanny Zoe, but she was a frail young woman, no match for a sturdy old servant used to rough work. She was quickly pinned down, screaming that she would have Nanny Zoe sold off. Nanny Zoe sneered. "I was born and raised in the Marchioness's service, a first-class old servant in this manor. Even if you were raised to a secondary wife, you'd still not have the power to sell me, and now you're neither secondary wife nor even a bed servant. You're nothing." Nanny Zoe dragged her before mother-in-law. Rose stood nearby, holding a spittoon. After hearing the whole story, mother-in-law was so furious she snatched the spittoon from Rose's hands and smashed it over Lily's head. "Ungrateful wretch!" Lily collapsed to the floor in fright, her stomach cramping in agony. She was carried back. Christopher was summoned home and suffered a severe tongue-lashing from his mother. Rose's bird's nest had been purchased with mother-in-law's private money. She had fallen into a lingering illness at the start of winter and hadn't recovered. Rose had used her own blood as medicine and nursed her for half a month before mother-in-law's health improved. That was why there was this extra bowl of bird's nest. How could Lily be so unreasonable? When Christopher visited Lily afterwards, for once he did not indulge her. When she demanded that Rose be sold, he scolded her harshly instead. After these 2 successive frights, Lily failed to keep the child. Less than a month later, she miscarried. She didn't dare hate mother-in-law. She didn't dare resent Christopher either. So the pain of losing her child turned into hatred for Rose and Nanny Zoe. Now that she'd risen to power, she naturally wanted revenge. I handed the letters from the Marquis's manor to Mother. Chapter 2. After reading them, Mother's lips curved in a cold smile. At a time like this, instead of using the chance to win hearts and establish herself in the manor, she wastes her energy on petty jealousy. Adorable in her stupidity. She straightened the fox fur cloak on my shoulders, a softness in her eyes. "Your elder sister has entered the palace as a consort and now borne His Majesty a child. Our family already has 1 noble consort. We can't afford a second. Your father has won another great victory. Our house is burning with oil and shining with flowers. Everyone thinks we are basking in glory, but in truth we walk on thin ice. Every step must be careful. Your marriage to the Chu family is the best your father and I can arrange for you now. The Marquis's manor is not so high above our house as to attract resentment, nor so far below as to invite ridicule. Your father will surrender his military command when he returns this time. The Chu family has planted its people in the army for generations." Here Mother's voice turned cold. "If one day we reach a dead end, if His Majesty is not satisfied with your father's voluntary surrender of command and still wants to wipe us out, then your son, as the Marquis' legitimate heir, and your sister's son, will be the 2 most precious young men in the capital." A shiver went down my spine. I understood. If, one day, the Emperor decided to move against our family, then my son, Christopher Chu's legitimate heir, could raise an army to support my elder sister's son as Emperor, preserving the house of Duke Edward. The deepest value of this marriage lay in the Chu family's status among military men. "Mother," I understand. Good. As for children, with her helping you, nothing will go wrong. A veiled woman stepped out from behind Mother. This is Green Robe, Mother said. Your grandmother sent her from 1,000 miles away to be your right hand. Green Robe smiled bewitchingly at me. Little mistress, whether you need medicine or poison, killing or body disposal, I can do it. I couldn't help laughing. Mother, she truly is a fine helper. Looking out past the eaves, I saw a dense whiteness in the sky. Even the fine fox fur could no longer keep out the bitter wind. The sky over the Marquis's manor was about to change. That gaudy lotus had bloomed too wildly. It was time to cut it back. After dealing with Nanny Zoe, Lily moved against Rose. With a flimsy accusation that Rose had taken up with a carrier, she tried to have her sold. Rose threw herself into a well. She was fished out on mother-in-law's orders, but the matter had already become household gossip. Someone who didn't know the truth reported it to the authorities. It alarmed the prefect of the capital, and Lily and Rose were both taken in. Christopher, who was run ragged at the Ministry of Rights, nearly spat blood when he heard. He didn't even have time to change out of his court robes before rushing over. In the courtroom, Lily produced evidence that Rose had been with a man. The prefect of the capital said nothing. Christopher's face turned green. Not a single word of Lily's could stand up to questioning. The prefect waved the clerks away, took them into his private quarters, and poured Christopher a cup of tea. Cousin, he said mildly, my cousin Isabella was famous even in the women's quarters. The Duchess is frail, and all the household matters are managed by my cousin. She's known for being excellent at running a house. Christopher, ashamed, cradled his cup. Your cousin, she's gone to the temple to pray for her brother. Oh, my cousin drawled, then asked with a smile, which temple? My wife could go as well and keep her company, and they could burn some incense together for the soldiers on the frontier. It would be a kind gesture. Christopher's lips moved, but no words came out. Mother and I had told the Marquis's manor only that we were going to a temple to pray for the men at the border. We had not said which one. There were countless temples outside the capital, with no less than 100 famous ones. Christopher had never cared about me, so naturally he had paid no attention to my itinerary. My foolish husband was struck dumb, and my cousin wouldn't let him off. My cousin Isabella was sought after by 1,000 suitors. As the Duke's second daughter, marrying you is marrying beneath her station. Do you think she had no better choice? She chose you only because she liked you. Even if you don't like her, you should at least give her the honor due a lawful wife. You let a concubine run the house and cause this mess. The Imperial Civil Service evaluations are coming soon. Do you want the old fossils in the Ministry of Personnel to impeach you? Christopher lifted his head, dazed. How could she like me? My cousin sighed. 4 years ago, when she went to burn incense, bandits attacked her carriage. You were the one who saved it. Christopher started. It was her. Cousin, treat my cousin Isabella well. She's gentle and kind. If she gives up on you and divorces you, then as Duke Edward's former son-in-law, who would dare marry you as a second husband? Those last words were both warning and persuasion. Christopher took no offense. I understand. After you left, my cousin came back, lifted the curtain, and asked for praise. Cousin, how did I do? Perfectly, I said from the bottom of my heart. Christopher took Lily and Rose back home by carriage. To return to the Marquis's manor, he had to pass along the bustling Shenwu Avenue. The prefect of the capital had made a display of the arrest, and in that short time, word had spread that Lily had driven a bed servant to her death. Some busybody called out from outside the carriage. Young Marquis, the wife you're neglecting for a concubine is the daughter of Duke Edward. Duke Edward is out there fighting for the empire. How can you let your little concubine run the house like this? Once one voice spoke up, others joined in to denounce him. Lily flung herself into his arms, sobbing. Cousin, this must be her scheme. Christopher shook off her hand and snapped. Isabella is at the temple praying for her father and brothers. How could she be behind this? If you hadn't behaved improperly, how would we end up with this disaster today? Before Lily could reply, the carriage reached the Marquis's manor. 3 shopkeepers in Hangzhou's silk stopped Christopher. Are you the young Marquis? Christopher frowned. And you are? "We're the managers of the 3 major embroidery houses," one of them said. "Last month, your lady paid us a deposit to make winter clothes for your servants. Some measurements haven't been sent. We've come several times to chase them. Your people said the lady wasn't home and that a little mistress was in charge, but that she hadn't given them the measurements either. Now the cold winds are howling, and we have orders from all the noble families. We're too busy to wait any longer. We've come today to return the deposit to the Marquis's manor." Their words left Christopher speechless. After all, it was the Marquis's manor that had delayed them. They had given the house a full month. Winter was nearly upon them. It was indeed too late. Christopher took back the deposit, and after the shopkeepers left, he turned on Lily with a cold face. "Well done," he hissed. He flung his sleeves and stepped through the gate, nearly tripping. The doorboy lay barefoot in a thin robe, shivering with fever in the corner. "What's going on here?" Christopher roared. Lily stammered and couldn't answer. Rose, with downcast eyes, spoke softly. "He was bought this summer, a new servant and an orphan. The house only issued him summer and autumn clothes. His winter things haven't been made yet. A month, an entire month. What have you been doing?" For the first time, Christopher lost his temper with Lily in front of everyone. She trembled, eyes brimming with tears. "My lord, Just then, my carriage pulled up. My lady has returned." With Nanny's help, I descended. Christopher's face was still dark with anger, but when he saw me, he seemed momentarily dazed. Compared to Lily and Rose, whose hair was disheveled, I was pristine and composed, my clothes and hair done exactly in the styles he liked. "My lord, are you well?" I frowned slightly and stepped closer, taking his hand. "Why is your hand so cold?" "Come inside. My elder sister wrote to say you've been run ragged over the investiture ceremony, working day and night and sleeping at the ministry. As soon as I heard, I hurried back. The 14 days for my prayers aren't over yet, but I think father and brother will understand. You are important to me too." Christopher's eyes reddened. Rose was cold to him. Lily only brought him trouble. Mother-in-law scolded him for failing to manage the inner courtyard. Even commoners on the street cursed him for favoring a concubine over his wife. In a whole month, no one had asked whether he was eating or sleeping well. I turned to Nanny. "Tell Nanny Zoe to make 2 bowls of tonic soup for my lord," he asked, embarrassed. "Why 2?" I gave him a mock glare. "How foolish. It's freezing. You still have to go back to work this afternoon. Take the 2nd bowl to the ministry and warm it over the brazier. When you're tired, drink it. Those palace halls are so vast that they're always drafty. A bowl of hot soup will chase the chill." He averted his face, his voice catching in spite of himself, yet unusually gentle. My lady is thoughtful." "You're my husband," I said with a smile. "Of course I must be thoughtful." Christopher had barely rested at noon before he was called back to the Ministry of Rites. Before he left, he apologized to me, unusually earnest and contrite. "In the past, I indulged Lily. She's only a concubine of humble birth. How could she manage the accounts of a great house? Her meddling has made us all a laughingstock. This was my mistake. From now on, all matters in this mansion will be yours alone to decide. You needn't seek my approval. Mother trusts you as well. You are my lawfully wedded wife. No one dares disrespect you." When the stewards went to Lily's courtyard to collect the account books, Lily came running, eyes red, to look for Christopher. When he refused to see her, she stayed outside and called me a temptress. Christopher smashed his teacup. Hot liquid splashed on the floor, steaming. "So this is how she has insulted you all along?" I shook my head and gave him a gentle smile, swallowing my grievances. "It's nothing." "Bring the little mistress in," he said coldly. 10 slaps. By the 2nd slap, Lily was sobbing. "Cousin, have you forgotten? I saved your life, and you hit me for her?" Watching the hesitation flicker in his eyes, I knew it was time to stop. "That's enough," I said softly. "Send her back to her room to rest." Christopher's fists clenched, his lips turning white. A single life-saving act had given Lily years of glory. But if she kept bringing it up, she was wielding her favor as a weapon. No one could bear that forever. Lily was digging her own grave. The first thing I did after reclaiming the household keys was restore Nanny Zoe. "You're too capable to be limited to the kitchen. From now on, share more of my burdens." Tears streamed down Nanny Zoe's face. "I will follow my lady's lead." Lily's purge had left Nanny Zoe exposed to the world's cruelty. Mother-in-law was too ill to stand up for her, and she had no one to turn to. She had been on the verge of ruin. No one remembers favors added to success. I needed to give aid in the snow. 1 month of torment and humiliation had shown her that the world inside this manor had changed. Only by choosing a new master could she live like a human being. She was clever enough to know how to become a fine knife in my hand. Only if I prospered could she prosper. I gave her a thick stack of silver and sent her out in the night to record the servants' measurements. Make 3 sets of winter clothes. This winter is especially cold. The money for the extra set will come from my dowry. That was how you planted a favor. Only when people receive your kindness will they remember your grace. With Lily as a ready-made contrast, managing the Marquis' manor became almost effortless. In just 2 months, my reputation spread. Our nannies and servants had to go out regularly to purchase supplies. Whenever they chatted with servants from other houses, they praised me to the skies. Word by word, my virtuous reputation spread across the capital. Lily, nursing her grudges, deliberately let slip that Christopher and I had never consummated our marriage. She wanted me disgraced, unable to show my face, my reputation in tatters. I ignored it and still had soup sent to Christopher every day. Lily only grew more reckless, spending silver to fan the flames. The rumors swelled. Everyone outside was laughing at me now. On the 7th day, Christopher couldn't hold back anymore and came home. Not because of the rumors, but because of the soup. He asked me awkwardly, "Isabella, has someone new taken over the kitchen?" I blinked. No. "Oh, the soup has been a bit too salty these days." All the color drained from my face. Listlessly I murmured, "I see, my lord. I'll tell the small kitchen." Nanny couldn't help speaking up. "My lord, my lady has been making the soup herself these days. Look at her hands, blistered from the steam." I snatched my hands back at once and scolded. "Nanny, what nonsense!" Christopher took my hands and saw for himself. His chest rose and fell in anger. "And you still deny it? Look at your hands. What have you done to them?" My eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, my lord. I can't even do such a small thing properly." He pressed his lips together. Neither of us spoke. He had ointment brought and applied it to my hands himself. "Don't be foolish again. If you've done something, say so. Understand?" I smiled through my tears and nodded like a spoiled girl. "All right." His eyes softened. He reached out and stroked my hair. A servant came to say mother-in-law was calling for him. After he left, I wiped the spot his hand had touched, unable to hide my disgust. The rumors outside were something I had deliberately guided to mother-in-law's ears. She cared deeply about face and could not bear such shame. After leaving mother-in-law's quarters, Christopher went straight to Lily's and gave her a fierce scolding, smashing many of her things. When he came out, fresh scratches marked his neck and face. For the first time, he ordered Lily confined. Without his word, she could not leave her courtyard. He had always known of many of Lily's wrongs, but because he loved her, he had indulged her and ignored those who suffered. But now, why was he suddenly beginning to care? Christopher Chu. Have you started to like me? Chapter 3. That night, I drank the conception medicine Green Robe had prepared for me and quietly awaited Christopher. He did come knocking on my door. In the height of passion, he actually cried. Choked with sobs, he whispered apologies in my ear. "You're a noble lady from a great house. Marrying me is me climbing above my station. I treated you badly before. I left you cold and humiliated. From now on, I'll treat you well, just as you've treated me." I kissed him lightly to shut him up. If he wanted to treat me well, he could hurry and get me pregnant, then die early so my child could inherit his title. That would be the best kindness he could offer. Green Robe's medicine worked. From that one night, I conceived. After the pregnancy was confirmed, I summoned Rose. "Now that I'm with child, if Lily regains favor, I'll remain untouched as the lawful wife, but you won't. Once you're in this game, you no longer have control. You have to fight. Having a child is always a good thing, even a daughter." Her beautiful eyes shimmered with tears. She kowtowed. "I understand, my lady." Recently, Christopher had been coming home from court early, bringing gifts for me every day. He liked to rest his ear on my belly to listen. I asked with a smile, "Now that I'm pregnant and can't attend to you, why don't you go to Rose?" He frowned. Other women are always trying to keep their husbands in their rooms. Why are you so eager to drive me away?" I laughed. "I don't want to be a jealous wife." He snorted. Censor James's wife held a knife to his throat and forced him to send his concubines away. That's what I call a good wife. This time I really couldn't help laughing. Was there something wrong with his head? You think that's good? Of course. She only did it because she loves him. Then what if I send Lily away? It was the first time I spoke so directly about Lily with him. I watched his eyes, ready to catch the flicker of hesitation and shame I expected. Instead, he looked at me with open delight. "I've been planning to send Lily back to Ridge City. She never formally served you tea as a concubine, so she can't be considered mine. She saved my life once. For that, I'll give her a generous dowry and find her a good match." My smile faded from my eyes, leaving only the practiced curve at my lips. "But she carried your child once. What other man would dare take her? There's a house in Ridge City. I can send her there to live out her days. If she won't marry, I'll support her for life, as long as she doesn't appear before us again." I paused, momentarily speechless. "Fine." He took my hand, his eyes bright, smiling. "I plan to send Rose with her, so in future it'll be just the two of us here. Isabella, having you is enough. For all that I've done wrong before, I'll make it up to you, bit by bit." Out of his sight, I frowned deeply. Perhaps his brain really was damaged, and he truly didn't understand Lily. How could she possibly leave so quietly? I had imagined many of Lily's possible moves, but not this. On the day I gave birth, I had difficulty in labor. It was twins. Christopher put aside his duties and stayed outside the birthing room. My screams grew so shrill that he shoved past the maids to rush in. His tears and snot ran together, making a sorry sight. He gripped my hand, gasping. "Look at me and it won't hurt." He lied. I hurt so much I wanted to laugh. Honestly, I didn't even like him. How could looking at him make it not hurt? I closed my eyes and prayed silently. I had to live. I still had a good life waiting, rising in status, growing rich, and burying my husband. My elder sister's son was now crown prince. My brother had married a princess, and the princess too was with child. Father had relinquished his command and now held only a nominal post in the Ministry of War, spending his days fishing and drinking tea with mother. My family was safe. I did not want to die. Suddenly the midwife cried out, "My lord, do we save the mother or the child?" My mother-in-law, who had always been kind to me, roared then, "Save the child! Midwife Wendy, you must keep my grandson safe." I clenched the quilt, tears streaming, limp as a piece of dead meat under their hands. "Save the mother!" Christopher shot to his feet. He shoved his mother aside, snatched the sword from the wall, and pressed it to the midwife's throat. "If anything happens to my wife, I'll see your entire family killed." I bit my lip, tears falling without my will. He was only doing what any husband should do, and yet somehow I found myself less repulsed by him. This marriage had always been political. All I had ever asked for was polite respect. "Mother and children are safe. Mother and children are safe." Midwife Wendy cried, "My lord, come see the young heir and the young lady." Christopher stepped past her to my side. His hands shook as he wiped my sweat. His tears fell on my dry lips. "No more children," he whispered. "Never again, Isabella." I was so afraid. I exhaled, ready to speak, when Lily dropped the copper basin she was holding. She drew a dagger from her sleeve and lunged at me. My mouth opened in silent terror. Christopher was holding the child and could use only his back to shield me. The blade pierced his heart and lungs. Screams filled the room. He spun around, seized Lily, grabbed the sword lying unsheathed on the bed, and pressed it to her throat. One stroke, and her life ended. Blood bubbled at his lips. He reached toward my face. "It's all right, Isabella." My pupils contracted. The smell of blood overwhelmed me. My voice shook as I screamed, "Physician, the imperial physician, don't die. Don't die, Christopher Chu. Back when I hated you so much, you stayed perfectly alive. Now that I'm willing to live as a courteous husband and wife with you, how can you die?" 7 years after Christopher's death, my father-in-law petitioned the court to grant my son his title. He became the youngest heir in the realm. His rank faced no threat from any illegitimate child. Rose had borne no offspring. She had, however, an excellent hand with food. She liked to stay with me, playing with the children and cooking for them. "The 2 nights he came to my room," she said quietly, "he was heavy-hearted. He never touched me. He only asked if childbirth was difficult. I told him it was very hard. He said that in future, he would hire the best physicians for you. I said your sister is noble consort now. Naturally, the finest physicians would be at hand. Then he said he would stay with you himself, that having him there would ease your heart. She paused, watching me as I stitched a tiger head cap for our son. But I knew you despised him. The needle pricked my finger, and a red bead of blood appeared. I barely felt the pain. Yes, I had despised him that much once. But he died. Died for me. And I began to forget the bad things and remember only the good. When I burned my tongue on hot food, he would instinctively catch it with his hand. When I suffered from morning sickness, he put aside his duties to rub my back. His technique was poor, so he went to the palace to ask the imperial physicians for advice. People teased him. Was a concubine no longer as good as a wife? He cursed them in anger, then came home with many gifts to make it up to me. He was a good man, one who helped old folks and treated the servants kindly. It was just that, in the beginning, the one he loved wasn't me. And now, why can't I cry? No matter. I would raise his children well for him. After my little nephew ascended the throne, my son made a name for himself in the army. He won every battle. Everyone called him a young hero. My daughter grew up to look just as I once did. I took up the role my mother had once played. Silly child, I told her. In marriages between great houses, a husband's affection matters least. What matters is the power you hold as mistress of the house. She nestled against me, coquettish. After sifting through countless candidates, I found her a fine young man whom she liked and who liked her. A few years later, my son married too. Not long after, I became the old madam of the Marquis's manor. Everyone came to pay me respect. I spent my days at home, playing with grandchildren and mahjong cards with my sisters. For many years, I did not think of Christopher Chu. Every day was pleasantly spent. But one night, I dreamed of him. Calmly, I told him how sensible, obedient, and promising our two children had become. He sat at my feet, listening intently as I spoke the whole night through. At last, dawn approached. He patted the dust from his robes and rose to leave. I've spent 30 years down below accumulating merit for this one chance to see you. Now that I see you living so well, I'm content. I answered him coolly. Oh, then hurry up and go reincarnate. He smiled, eyes crinkling, face handsome as ever. Isabella, I can wait and reincarnate with you. In the next life, we can be husband and wife again. I wrinkled my nose in distaste. Absolutely not. I don't like you, Christopher Chu. He only smiled. I know, Isabella, then I'll go first. And with that, he left.